Yay, our Theron. Yes, we're live.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday. It's a very special Wednesday because Intel has released a bunch of video cards that you can't buy.
Can't get.
Man, oh man, am I so excited about that. I just made my afternoon. What is up, beautiful people? We're just wrapping up talking about, well, Intel cards, power strips, and things like that. Little things we get up to in the pre-show. Boom! We got quite a bit of show for you this afternoon. A couple of things we're going to be touching on, like Blender is going full whaling.
Yay!
LVFS, which I always want to make it a file system, but it's not. It has been updated. Firefox has got a new relay system out, and where? Oh, where? It's my Raspberry Pi. No one knows. It is a mystery. Let me get over to live. Yeah, so definitely going to talk about the lack of Intel cards at the beginning of the show, because Intel. You have these. You don't have to make anymore. You have a warehouse full of them. But maybe they only made 10.
Yeah, I was also expecting them to see them on Amazon, since this was supposed to be the launch date. But I
went to Amazon. You're not alone. I went to Amazon, and this is how I rolled it down. I went to Amazon using Intel Arc 770 FE, nothing. I'm like, oh no, did the scalpers get them? So I headed over to eBay and typed that in. I'm like, no. You want to check Friday and Saturday on eBay to see if the scalpers are going to try to scalp these.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play with, and I'm not playing this game. I am not playing this game again. I did not play this game with the 3060 shortages. I said I'm not even going to think about getting a 3060 until I get a notification that I can just buy one. And it was like 2 years after they came out. So there we are. Did I order a 770, Joe? No, I did not.
No, you didn't.
I tried.
Yep. I do have a 750 in my cart.
I will think about it. I don't know. It's hard for me to get excited about. I mean, I tried. That's as hard as I'm going to try, too. One of the guys from XDA hit me up on Twitter, and he was sent some. He was sent both of them early.
Oh. I just got a notification that the 750 is no longer available. I figured. I waited too long.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I told him. I'm like, you know what? Here's how this is going to play out. I'm just going to wait. I'll get one used.
Yeah.
I'm not hustling for this because I'm going to buy the card. I'm setting that money on fire. It's probably not something I'll continually use. It's just to be like, hey, let's make a couple of guides for this. Let's see how these things work.
Oh, hey, Yannick. Yay, Yannick's back in chat again, like he was yesterday. That was awesome. Hey, Joe.
Yannick, did you see the prices of the New York cards? They're not cheap. They are not.
Yeah, for you, for sure.
That is the
France.
Oh yeah, like 460 euros in Space France. At least they're in stock, but they better be in stock for.
Yay, Joe! Hello.
459, man. Like, there is no situation where I would pay that.
Yeah. Under 300 or just over 300, perfect. But yeah.
How fast will be? Well, see, that's one of the things I want to take a look at, because this is like one of the things DaVinci Resolve leverages C plus G, already.
Yeah.
So probably a little bit slower than I currently do with exporting with AV1.
Mm-hmm.
Would be where I'm at. I fully don't expect to be able to use ARC in my toolchain 100% from end to out like I currently do, but I want to find out. I want to find out what the gotchas are. I want to see what it's like setting up OpenCL and trying to get that working with the DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
Tell everyone just go install Arch.
Yep. Hi, Daisy Bobs. How are you doing?
Okay, we got about 8 minutes before go time.
I will be right back.
And yeah, I use Arc, by the way. BTW, man. Oh, you got a Steam Deck? Right on. Yeah, you could just buy a Steam Deck now, which is weird, isn't it? I mean, unlike an Intel Arc 770 Founders Edition, you can just go out and buy a Steam Deck now. It'll come in 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks. It kind of let me down. To be perfectly honest, I was not looking forward to spending $350 this morning, but I was going to do it. I was going to take one for the team. But here we are. Less than a week. That's even better. Yeah, you see, now that you can just buy a Steam Deck, I haven't had time. I got to workshop a better excuse than what I was using. Like, wow, I'm going to wait until you can just buy one. Like, hey, Vin, now you can just buy one. I'm like, I'll have to come up with a better excuse. Maybe. All right, we got that together. Everything is humming. Thanks to everybody who showed up last night for our Trackmania practice. If you don't know about that, that's something we do on Tuesdays. Linux and Labs. We play retro gaming. It's kind of fun. Oh, man. That's something I was explaining to Jill. I just want to always try, like, especially with like new hardware and stuff like this, I want to get ahead of any tech tubers when it comes down to like installation and setup and stuff like that. Plus, I have a whole different thing that I'm going to be covering. It's not like, how well can it game? Like, yeah, it can game. That's cute. What can it do with Blender? What can it do with DaVinci Resolve? What can we make it do with OBS and FFmpeg? That's what I want to play around with and show off. Tech tubers, man. I mean, I have, if you're a tech tuber, if you're out there, which I know you are, I have nothing against that, man. It's a perfectly valid business model, but it's that race to the bottom of the brainstem. Techtainment. And when I'm watching something personally on YouTube, I'm trying to get information in my brain mates. That's what I'm there for. I'm like, okay, how do I do this, and this? Now there's techtainment, reporting style stuff I'm fine with. But the like wild and wacky stuff, like just give me the information, make it accurate. If you watch anything that I produce, that's what it is. It's to the point. Yeah, I'm very curious as to see what type of moon glyphs I'm going to have to type in to custom FFmpeg to make it work. AV1 support is merged. I don't know if it's in the official package. I think I have AV1 support in... What am I running right now? 2801, 68, G7. I think it's got AV1 support in it. It might just have AV1 for NV encode right now. But yeah, Intel Arc is exciting. It's new. It's different. Because I know NVIDIA comes around, NVIDIA's like, hey, you know what? Here's a new 4060. I'm like, yay. Because I'm going to take a 4060. You know what I'm going to do with 4060? I'm going to plug it in, restart the box, and everything's just going to work as is. You don't get to tinker with it. One thing you can say about NVIDIA, today, the driver released with support for 40 series. NVIDIA does treat desktop Linux as a first-class citizen. Oh no, did that wacky boy WinPress containerize OBS? That sounds like his modus operandi. That's pretty neat. Yeah, my OBS builds are stripped down, I think one might say. I disable all the stuff that I don't use, like VST support, also support, pipewire support, Pulse audio support, just AJA support, but I have, like WebSockets, DeckLink, a couple other things added in. It's a shell script. All right. It's portable. Right on. Right on. Does it include jack support? Remember, check your OBS distribution package that you currently run and see if they've included jack support, because if they don't, they're all serial killers. Yeah, but Pipewire's for people who don't know how to use jack. It's like jack, but a moving target with less functionality and higher latency. Which I love Pipewire, right? 100%. Nothing but support for it. What I do like is Pipewire is exposing the routing and flexibility of what jack's been doing for almost 20 years. But it's doing it in a more out-of-the-box way, so people can go, wait, you can just do this and do this, and I can just route this, and astronaut with a gun at Earth, always could, always has been, but it's making it more accessible, and that's what I love about Pipewire. That's why I'm a huge fan of the audio portion, and plus you're going to absolutely need Pipewire with our Wayland future, and Wayland's just around the corner, 10 more years. I'm going to be saying that when I'm using Wayland day in and day out. I was like, just 10 more years. Oh, man.
Hello, FX Boy. Hello, Mir.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the cool things, this is one of the things that with Pipewire that I brought up a couple of times. Is we need a legitimate drop-in replacement for NetJack. And A2G Zeta is not a drop-in replacement for NetJack, not even remotely. But to do things like these boxes, all the boxes under here are all wired in with a NetJack. That's what the 8-port fiber switch back here is for. There's no wires. I did the whole video on what the lead expletive is NetJack, showing how you can replace, I think it was like 18 audio cables with a couple of network cables. Being able to route to different devices. And plus, on top of that, you got regular NetJack. I'm just talking about NetJack locally. You got Jack Trip if you want the same functionality over a WAN. We were using Sonobus for a long time, which was just doing an implementation of that, which in real-time audio, we could send back, 32-bit floating point if we wanted, but, 16-bit wave is pretty tight, too. You have a coffee grinder that plays music? That sounds pretty decent. I might be interested. I found out that we were talking in the pre-show on Saturday. I don't know what led to this conversation, but the concept of squirrel leashes came up. I don't know how we got there. It was a pre-show. But I stopped myself and I said, you know what? I'm not even going to look up squirrel leashes because they probably exist. Lo and behold, there's an entire section on Amazon for squirrel leashes.
That's hilarious.
Also, you can buy dresses for your rabbit.
Yeah. That I've seen.
All right, let me get something to drink. I And Jill is going to entertain everyone.
Yes, yes. Yay. So, are any of you interested in getting an Intel Arc? I know you, Yannick. It's a little bit too expensive for something to just play with. Yeah, Matthew, I saw you in general teasing Vin about getting a 16 gig one. Yeah, that's a good idea, Joe. You don't have a use for Arc? Well, Arc probably works best on Arch, so that's where I will probably be running it from when I get an Arc card. Yeah, that's why I want to play with it, is for the AV1 encoding. It's a good price to get into that market for AV1. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, DirectX 12 games run fine, but DirectX 9 and 11 don't do so well. Yeah, Matthew, don't encode videos. I want to play with it with DaVinci, Kdenlive, Blender, and all my graphics apps. It's definitely a thing. And for streaming, because I do that with Destination Linux. Sometimes I'm a backup for them often during the shows, and so I do recordings. That's good, Joe. Yeah, Strider, you need one to test Lutris on. Oh, Nobera. Yeah, cool, Artherin. So yeah, over at Destination Linux, we do the main show. We use Pipewire for that show. We have been for 2 years, actually, since I've been a host there. They have a different, setup than Ven does. do. Yep. It is Artherin.
What's that?
We use Pipewire, Fedora with Pipewire over at Destination Linux to do our production.
Oh no! Like I said, it's great for people who can't figure out Jack.
Well, they use Jack too.
We use the Jack drop-in replacement with Pipewire.
Yeah.
So you're using Pipewire.
Pipewire with QJack CTL.
The only downside is you got to deal with higher latency when using Pipewire versus Jack directly.
Yeah, that's a thing. And they're not using NetJack or don't have a setup that Venet does. They're doing it differently.
Most people are going to have this kind of setup. This is a broadcast.
Yeah, I know.
I was laughing at that the other day. On Saturday, just like looking at our live stream. If you give me a integrated LUFS target to hit, like even on our live stream, our integrated LUFS target, I always target minus 14. Live stream's 0.5 off.
Oh, okay.
Like what you guys are getting at home are perfect.
It is.
Katie is good. I'll neck beard and say I don't use a GUI. I do everything from bash scripts. No, QJack CTL. I mean,
It works. It's a little ugly to look at, but it works.
if you're going to start jack, or I haven't really played with pipe wire, but the whole point of pipe wire is to make it like agnostic. You can use pulse audio, you can use jack and everything, and it's got its own modules and plugins and stuff like that. But the difference is like QJack CTL was like created by the guy who created jack, and Katia was developed by the guy who maintains jack now.
Yeah.
It's options. I don't have one way or the other. The only time I use either of them is not. I don't even use QJack CTL to start and stop jack, but I use the graph manager to just check something, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop it up and whoa, just minimize that, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Just check all your connections.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up.
That's what I used to use too when I was using jack here on LWW.
We got our basic. Can I even do a screenshot from? Let's see. I'm gonna go. What? Come on. Copy to clipboard. Wait, can I do that? I think this works. You know what? Let's just host it on Imager.
Yeah, true Daisy Bobs. It is. It can be a pain, especially I always have to use my magnifier program to use QJack. But the graph system, once you know it isn't bad. You see, look at how complex Vens is.
That's a baby one.
Yeah.
That's just me and you talking.
Yeah, that's not 3 people or 4 people.
But yeah, that's the basic setup there. Reaper, you see Reaper, that's Jackbox, and Jackbox is connected to the things on the left and right of that. That's the audio interface, the ins and outs. And you see Threadbooper, that's a different PC, and you see the Jordan box, that's a different PC. But yeah, that jack's real cool. Yeah, Katia is much nicer laid out. It is, but I'm just so used to using QJack because that's what I've been using for years. It absolutely does work, and I've seen there's different ways to go about it because I see a lot of stuff that looks like drunken LSD infused spider webs that people have come up with, with all this stuff laid out, and I'm like, just use a DAW for that so you can save your sessions and everything and have all of your tracks and all that set up in one thing, and it's trying to do mix minus and all that manually outside of a DAW. Why do you hate yourself? That's it. As long as you get the job done. A very important thing. I came to it late in life before it finally clicked in my head. As long as the job's getting done and it's being done right, just chill out. Let people do it however they need to do it. If at the end of the day your only argument is you're not doing it the way I do it, you need to grow up a little bit. And some people need to grow up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. I think we should be about ready.
Yay.
That's going to blow up there. And,
Yeah, I do like using Jack. I've learned a lot because of Ven. And I used to use it here on LWW. I'm not right now, but I'm on Pulse. But yeah, I set up my system to low latency kernel and did the whole thing so that I could do Jack with Ven, and when we started using Sonobus.
Sonobus was a good stopgap measure. It kept our audio sounding good until I got all hacky with a
Yeah, Jitsi.
I went down that route. It had to get done at some point, just for like easy use, because it's my number one priority is to make sure if it's Jill, Jordan, Pedro, or a guest we bring on the show, to make it as easy as possible for them.
Yeah.
Let me front load all the nasty, crazy stuff and just be able to pop in with the browser and be like, hey, we're ready to go. But you can, if you go back and watch Saturday's Linux Gamecast. Jitsi did exactly what I had it set to. Preserve high bitrate Opus. And we're talking crazy high bitrate too.
Is it Pedro's connection?
At the cost of everything. Like,
yeah.
Turn it into a pixel soup mess video if you need to. But do not let go of that high bitrate Opus.
Yeah.
And it did.
It worked.
We never have like you've noticed and you listening to us, you never hear like that robocall type stuff. Mm-hmm. The universal sound of like, aw, I've been there. Cool. Let me scroll down and let's get underway.
Okay.
Bird Creek. I see my girl Ali's song, so that means there is bin sound dubstep. There we go. Let's bounce that back. And we tap the stop button on that. Oh, right. Do I need to bring up that expander? How much do I need? Okay, I need to bring that up a little more. There we go.
Oh, hi, Oil of Hope. You made it. Yay.
Good night, everybody. All right, let's get to it. Let's do a record. Record. Take two. No springing leaks.
Oh, sorry, Ben. I didn't even notice I did it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source, just trying to have a fun time. I'm Vince Stone, that is Joe Bryant, and you are at home, maybe watching this live, probably listening to us in podcast format after the fact, but that's awesome too. Glad to have you. We got some things to talk about this week, Joe Bryant.
Yeah, we do. Lots of wonderful things. Including having fun on Trackmania.
What's that? Never heard of it.
Trackmania Stadium Squared.
Squared.
Yes. Trackmania 2.
People have a hard time finding that too. I put it up, as many times as I can, like, which one is it? And you know what? That's fair because you can easily get confused. You know what? A very common thing that happens is people will see streamers playing the latest and greatest Trackmania, the 2020 version.
Yeah.
And they'll go to Steam and buy Trackmania Nations United Forever, Trackmania Stadium.
Oh, yes.
Thinking
yeah, because there's so many of them. Yeah.
You are getting me. We're all getting kind of good.
Yay. Yeah, I am getting better. What I've been happy about was like last Friday, I was placing consistently second, third, fourth, sometimes first place on the maps, on hard maps. So I know I'm getting better.
It's a good thing to be able to track your progression like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I remember when I was in. And, I see that with a bunch of people that are playing with us on Tuesdays and Fridays. We have our own private server that's set up. Everyone's welcome to join if you're a Patreon or a Twitch sub. All the information, it is pinned in our Trackmanias channel. But it's running 24/7, and during the week, we do 14 new maps every Tuesday, and we play on. We get together on Tuesday, we stream it, and then Linux and Labs come hang out, just talk with us. And on Friday, we changed the modes up and we have some, fun and prizes type thing going on. But especially for people like us, getting on in years, it's interesting and it's good for your brain meats because it is a physics platforming game that makes you think ahead. You can't react to everything, and it's fun watching everyone scream with joy. Yeah, they're screaming with joy as they're flying off the tracks sometimes, trying to figure it out. It's a fun time. It's a good time. I'm glad everybody is enjoying it. And yeah, we're getting dangerous now. We're like, all right. It's you can see the entire group pretty much getting close to like the world records, within 3 or 4 seconds within the first 5 minutes. And of course, we've had a DSN Joe, which I'm going to call you DNS Joe. You just deal with it.
DSNG Joe.
And Pro Tools PT.
Yeah, PT. Yeah.
We're the 2 newest people that have joined, and it's great getting new people in. We got a maximum set of like 12 because I don't want to have more than 12 because it was way over 12 and it was impossible to keep track of.
Yeah.
So, got like 3 spots if you want to come pop in and play around. Love to have you. However, I did something that goes completely against everything I stand for. I flashed the BIOS on a perfectly working machine.
Ooh, that's a scary event.
It is. It is. You immediately, the entire time, even when you're like putting it on the thumb drive, you're like, this is a bad idea. This is horrible. If fate was to ever conspire against me, Joe, it would be right now. Why? Because there's nothing wrong with the machine and I'm flashing the BIOS. Can you tell I might have had some bad experience? I feel like I'm entering nuclear launch codes every time I have ever touched a BIOS my entire life. And yes, I understand. We have modern things with like flashback and all that. Doesn't change those feels.
Yeah. It's just ingrained in you since the 80s of building computers.
You don't want to be pulling the EEPROM and like hitting it with a light to blink it. And okay, let's try that again.
Yeah.
So I have an antique motherboard. I have a vintage motherboard that we use as the streaming system. X399, not Intel X399, AMD X399, which is Gen 1 Threadripper. So I was thinking, I'm like, hey, you know what? We got these Intel cards coming out. They require pretty much resizable bar. And I'm like, well, this board doesn't have resizable bar support. So I got curious, and there's a beta BIOS that, lo and behold, gives me rebar support. It is there. I'm like, huh. And yeah, there it is on my Creator Pro, whatever stupid motherboard it is, and there's resizable bar showing up in the NVIDIA control panel, and
nice.
It is, yeah. So I was super excited, Jill, when I got up this morning and I headed over to Newegg, and I'm like, let me go ahead and not be able to buy the A770 or the A750.
Yeah, same here. I had just put the A750 in my cart, and just before the show, I refreshed it, and it wasn't available.
None of them. Look, okay, even the one from ASRock, the Phantom Gaming, they're just gone. They're poof.
Yeah. And it's really annoying because, like you, Vin, this morning, I got up, the first thing I check, of course, is Newegg. And then I also checked Amazon to see if the ARC cards were available because I was hoping that, Intel would have a massive launch. And they're not on Amazon yet. I'm like one of the major retailers in the world, and they're not representative. What's up with that?
That was kind of strange. I had to resort to, like, there wasn't a clear path to just go buy these things either. Like, do a Google search for like buying one. You find a bunch of articles from like last week that don't link to anything. I finally found on Twitter somebody linking directly to like Newegg, and I'm like, oh, there's one place I can get them because, like you, I checked Amazon, they're not there.
Yeah.
I checked eBay, and they're not going to be. Oh, here's something that'll make you a little bit grumpy because they'll take a couple of days for these things to show up in the hands of scalpers. And yeah, maybe this weekend, definitely by Monday, check eBay and see what people are going to attempt to get for one of these, which I'm not. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in like supply and demand here because it's like these cards are made. These cards have been made. They're
been out
ready to go. Right,
a couple years.
Well, I'm going to say Intel's like had the 770, all of the Intel parts, like there shouldn't be any shortage on this. I just got done with 3 years of this nonsense. I have negative patience for that. That's what I wrote on Twitter. I'm like, well, there's one way to make sure I wait for the AMD announcement, because I'm just going to get a 770, 16 gig, Founders Edition. I was this morning for everyone. Let's find out what it does under Linux. Let's see how it works with the compute. Let's see how it works with OBS. Let's see how it works with DaVinci Resolve and all this. And yes, we'll see how it plays games too, which, I'm kind of interested in as well. But just not going to happen. Why? Because they made 6 of them, apparently.
Yeah.
There's one way of like, oh, there's a massive demand. That's one way to look at it. The other is they made 6 of them. They didn't have much in stock, which you would think.
Yeah, especially after 2 years, you would think Intel would have had learned, because this was the problem, before
NVIDIA.
trying to get a hold of an A380, and that was 2 years ago.
The A380, I don't think it's been quite 2 years.
Year ago.
About a year.
Yeah.
I don't think the A380 was ever intended as a domestic part. I think it was just Ford market only, because that card just outside of the encoder, it didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But like, good foot forward is to make these things like crazy readily available. And I have to imagine like the 770 with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, 350. That's the interesting, like, but that's all it is. Like, maybe I'll play it. It immediately dissolves. I'm like, do you want to get on a waiting list? Absolutely not. Yeah. I'll just wait for the AMD announcement, and I'll just pick up the 770 used in a couple of months, because they're going to be around. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at the end of the day. Very, not disappointed, but very surprised a company the size of Intel.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, haven't they learned from their mistakes in the last year or so?
I don't think Intel's necessarily had that problem. Like, Intel, out of all the companies, knows how to ship product.
Yeah.
Like, they got this. They got this locked down. You're going to have a tough time convincing me that this wasn't, like, any shortage right now is 100% intentional on Intel's part.
Yeah. Trying to build that drama and that scarcity.
Like taking a play at old Nintendo's playbook. I'm like, well, they only seeded so many to the market. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just get something else. I mean, especially if you're in the market for something immediately outside of just wanting to play with it, the need factor, what is there? I'll tell you what there is. There's a glut of used 30 series on the used market. That's what it is. That's what it is. I was talking about last night. Like, you know what? I might. Do you know what would be a really good, like, all-around card to pick up on the cheap right now? A 2080 Ti.
Yeah. Very good.
A lot of memory. More powerful than a 3060. Way more powerful than a 770. If you get one of those for like $300, are you kidding? I'd buy one. Yeah. I'd buy one. I shouldn't say that, because this afternoon I'll see one pop up on eBay. I'm like, welp.
There you go, Ben.
But here's the thing. If I had gotten an Intel card, or maybe I'll be able to go, my Solus Corporation choice will not be blue, it'll be red. But either way, it'll make my life a little bit easier, and I'll be able to try out things like Wayland on Linux. And that's right. Right? Recently, we have been working on native Wayland support on Linux. This is from the Blender Foundation. And here it is. Like it or not, Wayland's the future. Blender has decided just to go full Wayland on the official builds. It's been around in other forms if you wanted to play with it, but it's going to be officially supported with Blender 3.4 going forward. Probably. Couple of issues still remain. Couple of them. No tablet support, no 3D mouse support, no cursor warping, no window frames, and no high DPI support. None of those are exactly showstoppers unless you're somebody who's messed up and bought the 3D mouse. You're never going to go back to anything else. And they do bring up a couple of things in here. Like, unlike X, different Wayland compositors, they have different behaviors. So everybody's got their own quirks. In the future, hopefully all that's going to get ironed out and everybody's going to be nice and copacetic. But, I like seeing more and more coming to Wayland because it is the future, like it or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they had to eventually move over to Wayland anyways to support users running Blender on render farms. Because there are plenty of companies using Fedora and using other OSs that default to Wayland by default. So that makes sense. And what was interesting in the article is they said the Blender devs had to consider using SDL. They did consider it,
Right.
but it would require them to become SDL developers to properly support Blender, and they weren't quite ready for that. And, they're thinking...
There's a Ryan C. Gordon vibrating.
Yes. And, truthfully, SDL's focus is on gaming, which isn't necessarily aligned with the needs of application developers. So there you go. But that makes sense. I am happy they are, retooling for Wayland. Awesome.
I want to see it's going to be easier and easier and easier. And every time I try to think about how's this going to play out, when is everything, what are we going to get to the point where we only have a couple of legacy X applications outside of games, but games we're going to be able to handle?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a problem. What I'm saying is XFCE, hear me out.
Yes.
Maybe one day. That'll be the turning point. The only time I've ever really played with Wayland is when NVIDIA enabled the EGL things in their driver, and I'm like launched a little. I'm like, hey, look, there's the thing. I don't have a need for it right now. And my current situation, I don't have a play around box, so. And I also try to avoid running Blender like the plague.
Oh, I love Blender. I taught for years.
I respect Blender. I think it's awesome. I don't like dealing with 3D modeling software unless I absolutely have to. That's a me thing, and it has nothing to do with Blender. Every time I have to come back to Blender, usually once a year, my brain comfortably just rejects everything that I learned last time. I mean, I'm talking like, how do I render this out into frames? It's gone.
I have to remember.
It's completely gone. I have to start from square one. So, firmware. We're talking about firmware because BIOSes, UFIs, do we call them BIOSes? I'm just always going to call it BIOS.
Yeah, same here. The basic
UEFI.
Input-output system.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I need to flash the UFI.
Yes.
Like, are you sick?
Yeah. So speaking of BIOSes or UEFI, there has been a big update to the FWUPD firmware updates application for Linux.
Still maintain that sounds like a file system.
I know, it does. FWUPD. So anyways, FWUPD 1.8.6, it has been released and includes new support for hardware that many users, both at home and server side, have needed, including, this is a big one, firmware support for super micro servers running the Redfish protocol for managing servers. And that's wonderful because I know so many businesses use those super micro motherboards. So this was a very, very big deal. And thank you to Arthur in chat for posting this in our Discord chat and making us aware of this. This was major news. And the other cool thing about FWUPD is that the developers reduced the installed package size by more than 30% by compressing some data files, building some plugins into the binary, and actually splitting out common code and tools. And it now also uses a higher compression preset for UEFI splash images. So it's become a lot faster, more efficient, and more hardware support. It's always a good thing. And thank you to Richard Husey out there for developing the app and all the good stuff, all the firmware.
All the Linux vendor firmware services, like big companies too. Arthur, as you pointed out, like Supermicro, right?
Yeah.
Like, no joke. As weird as my life has become, the next motherboard I'm going to be buying more than likely will come from Supermicro.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
knowing that that's going to be there, it's not official, it's community, but still HP, Intel, ThinkPads, Logitech, Dell, Corsair.
Yeah.
Or
Lenovo, IBM.
Yeah. If you got a laptop, you're probably a lot more familiar with this, but that ability, because you got to think about it, but playing with Linux for the last 30 years, like firmware, I'm going to say for the last 25, 24 years, was just something that was on the device when you bought it, and you probably never updated it. Because you didn't, what was your path? Install a Windows box, set up a Windows box for firmware updates or something along those lines.
So annoying. Yeah.
And, me, I'm not updating the firmware unless something is broke. So,
yeah.
It is curious. I've definitely installed this a couple of times on the boxes just to light up everything. I'm like, hey, what could I update the firmware? I'm like, that's really neat. I all of these things, a couple of drives, all this needs firmware updates, and I'm not doing it because it's not broke. But I could if I wanted to, and I like that option. I think that's really neat. I think that's really neat.
Yeah,
really
look how
excited.
the Linux vendor firmware service has, changed the Linux ecosystem.
Right?
It's huge. It's one of the most important applications, honestly, right now in Linux.
You got to have that. And again, I think this, you're probably a lot more familiar with this if your daily drivers is a laptop because you got a lot more devices. And then we get things like we talked about last week with Debian. It's like we're finally going to start shipping closed source firmware and all that.
Yeah.
It's just a good time. You need these things in modern systems. And always good to see an update from the not a file system. LVFS.
Yes.
just call it like Stefan. Come on.
Yeah, Stefan. Or you could do what I've been doing, FFWUPD application.
My brain misreads it as loves.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You know what? Swap the V and the F and we'll just call it loves.
The love file system.
That's not a file system. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be familiar with our next story. We're talking about Firefox Relay, which launched back in 2020 to help protect your user email addresses. Because, well, let's be faced, most people watching this show, you just made another email account on your server. But you can now do effectively the same thing with your phone number. There's a catch. Yeah. That catch is $4.99 a month. But you're going to get a new number, 50 minutes ago, 75 text messages. It's available in the U.S. and the U.S. is Canada. Now, it's basically Google Voice minus the outbound calls and texts. No mention on how it handles voicemails. So there's that. Now, I've been using Grand Central, now Google Voice, for the past 15 years. Now, if this can eventually compete with Google Voice, it might be worth it to some people, like looking to opt out of the Google data collection machine, right?
Yeah.
I definitely think there's a market there. But speaking to that point, Mozilla, you need to make it very crystal clear how you're handling data collection, reselling of that information. Because for $4.99, that number better be 0. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I will stick to my word. I will spite myself if I say I'm going to do something, and I have said in the past, if you give me an option to Google Voice, even if I pay for it, because that's one of the problems with Google Voice is it's not a service you pay for. They can just disappear at any time they want.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what my actual mobile phone number is. None. 0. Like you could hold a loaded penguin to my head, and I would be unable to tell you. However, $4.99 a month, if I could get a service that also would support Mozilla Foundation, and as the throw-in, I don't need the time for calling. I don't need text messaging, but I do need voicemail, and I do need outbound text. For $4.99 a month, I'd gladly give them that if they were not mining data or reselling my information to anyone. I don't care if it's anonymized or not. How about you, Jill? You just want to give them all the money and be like, oh, take all my data.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Firefox has a good history of not mining your data generally, but things have changed. Now, we were talking about that earlier before the show started. Yeah, it's we just need to see that fine print.
It's kind of neither of us are really comfortable saying, but we got to be honest about it. In 2022, you can't just automatically assume the Mozilla Foundation is going to default to do nothing bad. Like, want to.
Yeah. We love our Firefox.
But I got to
love,
see
love.
that written down. I got to see a public statement of, then I'll gladly give you $5 a month and I'll go through the hassle of moving my number over that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't give anybody my number. Again, I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have my 2 Google Voice numbers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think this is honestly brilliant. And they did it originally with Firefox Relay with email accounts. So they set up a fake email account that all the spam went to. Like all of us have done over the years. I have 2 fake spam email accounts. But I think it was nice. I think this was this is unique and a good way of thinking for security. And it could be a very big deal if this is a true spam, takes your spam but doesn't give it out.
Right. I mean, places that require a number. Now, okay. Here's an interesting thing I do run into, because I legitimately use my 2 Google Voice numbers for everything. And there are some services like, Steam Mobile Authenticator.
Yeah.
Initially, when that launched, it said, no, you can't use this with a Google Voice number.
Mm-hmm.
So if Firefox could guarantee me I wouldn't run into that with, then they eventually changed it because, hey, I don't care how you want to use it. Always use 2-factor, all the things.
Yeah.
If they could guarantee that I would never run into, setting that up or, filling out any type of form, like, no, because there's detection for that. Because why people spam with Google Voice?
Yeah.
So I want to help, Mozilla needs to stick around out of some of their crackpot ideas to monetize things over the past couple of years. This one makes sense. There's potential here.
Yeah.
There is. So, you know what else makes sense, Joe?
Yeah. What, Ben?
Giving us money.
Our wonderful patrons.
You can do that by heading over to patreon.com/LinuxGamecast. We got a bunch of different levels that you can choose if you so dare to support us, from Chairling's Death Notes, Sea Monsters, and we got 7 levels. 7 levels. I wonder if that's intentional. What else has 7 levels? I forget. Executive producers, advisors, all the way up to corporate overlords.
Overlords. Wow.
That's great. And I had to fight with Patreon to make sure that balanced out to Tree Fitty.
Okay.
That's why it's such a weird number. We got a bunch of bonus sodas we throw in. If you like this show, we have the live and uncut version of it, which is usually about an hour long. We try to keep the show around 30 minutes, but that's the pre-show and post-show video format. And of course, podcast as well. Same thing for Linux Gamecast Weekly, except instead of being an hour long, it's like 4 hours long. So if you need a lot of tech stuff in the background to listen to while you're at work, it's there waiting for you. Early access to anything that I'm working on as far as produced videos, interfacing Linux, OBS, basics, all that. You get a taste of that early to help out with it. See if you spot anything, got ideas, suggestions, because we live off the community. That's our feedback. Speaking of community, hop in our Discord, hop in our IRC, or just hop in Twitch. That's where we're hanging out the other 6 days of the week. We do have a couple of things. Speaking of LinuxGamecast.com, that has been migrated. So we are sitting on, we're still back behind Cloudflare. I'm not saying come at me. No one test our Cloudflare get set up. But yeah, all that's been for about 2.5, 3 months because I had to move right at 670 gigabytes of data from one place to the other. It took a minute, which I learned. And set up on a new host, get everything together. It's all locked in. I still got to play around with some of the caching stuff because the first live test was Linux Gamecast Weekly on Sunday, and it only turned into a smoldering crater for a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Which is good. An acceptable amount of smoldering crater for your web zone is like, okay, then
just a little bit of fire's okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit. It wasn't too bad. But we got a support page over at LinuxGamecast.com with our merch, PayPal. We got a store, and we got wish zones, Amazon wish list. If you pick up anything that's like crazy, insane RGB colored, you can send us a note. We'll read it on the show. Jill's got one. I got one. See, I told you I was thinking about getting super mic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go, Jill. But look at that. $500 for mother.
That's hard.
But at least it's green. It's vintage, right?
Yes.
That'll make
Absolutely.
it worth it. Maybe I can buy some LEDs and some stickers and stick some blinky stuff on it. I don't know. We do thank you for your support, allowing us to do it how we want to do it, which is being ourselves. We'll never, hopefully we'll never sell out. I don't know. Maybe we'll show up next week with like Microsoft t-shirts on and be like, so about that selling out thing. Microsoft loves Linux.
Yeah.
Let's get into a sliced pie.
Yeah.
Because we want to know.
Oh, that's a good one. It's a question mark candle on top of a cake. Not a pie, but close enough, Ben.
So what happens if I put icing on a pie?
Yeah. Well, icing might taste a little funny, although I guess it's kind of like whipped cream. So.
What if I put a crust on a cake?
That's okay. Actually, that would work. That would work. I've had actually cakes with crust in it.
At the end of the day, we're trying to, really hit you with philosophy. What is a pie?
Yeah. What is a pie? It's a number that we can't resolve.
Well, the kind of pies we're talking about, Jill Bryant, are the ones you can't buy.
Yes. So for those of you looking to buy a Raspberry Pi board, it looks like finding one and buying one at a reasonable price isn't going to happen anytime
that's fine.
soon.
Whatever. I can't buy a pie. I'll just go buy an ARC 770 fountain. No, I won't.
No, you won't. So I had actually speculated that most of the limited production was going to businesses because of the pandemic hardware supply problems and great demand. Well, it turns out I was right. So in the article, it talks about this. So 400,000 pies are still being made every month, but most are going to businesses who rely on Pi boards to run their businesses. And the Raspberry Pi founder, Eben Upton, said a year ago that there were early signs that the supply chain situation is starting to ease, but backed up demand could still explain the short supply, even if the Pi's components have gotten easier to buy. And yes, that is still true today. And it is, me and Ben have been talking about this for a long time, how hard it is to get a Raspberry Pi and how expensive they are when you find one.
It is. I mean, it's getting absolutely crazy. I managed to get my Pi 4. I got a Pi 4 back here in the rack just sitting, and it's running the Stream Deck. And I bought it when they were just getting just a little bit scarce. Like, you couldn't really find one on Amazon or Adafruit. They'd be out of stock, but what was in stock were the kits. And these were the kits that made sense.
Yeah.
It had a $75 8 gig Pi in it, but it also had a charger. It had a case and all the other stuff that, like $100. I'm like, oh, $120. So I think that's what I paid for this one. It made perfect sense. Now the only way, what do you think it would cost us today to get a 8 gig Pi on Amazon? What do you think, Jill? No cheating.
$250?
8 gigabyte. What do we do? Pi 4. Let's do an 8 gig. Are you? Okay. I'm not even kidding here. I typed in 8 GB Pi 4. What is it trying to sell me, Joe?
Zotac Gaming GeForce RTX 3050. Twin Edge with 8 gigs of RAM. Interesting.
What? Okay.
What?
Very Pi 4. Okay. That's still bad, though.
Yeah.
$184.
Oh.
For a $75 part.
Okay. Well, it is lower than I last checked. It was over 200 last I checked.
Well, that kit's going to run you like $250, $199, $245.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh boy.
No.
And
look at that. Like, you want to talk about extra rare? A compute module, a CM.
Yeah, $199 for a compute module, 4 gig. Wow.
That's crazy. And they're saying they're making $400,000 a month, but those are being allocated towards businesses. You might consider allocating some of that towards the end users.
Absolutely. Well, fortunately, there is raspberrypilocator.com, which is in our show notes, and the article on Ars Technica, mentioned it. It's a good place you can go and track what retailers have the Pis available and what models. And last I checked yesterday, there was nothing here. Everything was available only across the pond in Europe. So,
right. If we just want to pop over to Cambridge and head to the Pie Store, I'm sure they've allocated a couple.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And occasionally, I know at the Micro Center here, occasionally you can find them at decent prices, but it's sporadic.
And yeah, I would like a couple of extra 8 gig Pi 4s to play around with, but the amount of care I have for that, granted, is slightly higher than I did for the ARC 770 Founders Edition being out of stock, which I was like, I give negative cares. I played this game for the last 2 years. I'm done with this Intel.
You're done.
I will not even participate in this. I'll probably just get an AMD card out of spite.
Yeah.
But with the Raspberry Pi 4, where I'm at with that is I'll pop over to Adafruit and like, hey, is that nope, not in stock? All right, whatever. And that probably takes place every 4 or 5 months, and eventually it'll be back in stock. But then again, I kind of feel like we should be getting a Raspberry Pi 5 at some point, soon.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, I think that would be a good way for the Raspberry Pi Foundation to go. Just start with the releasing the Pi 5s when they're able to.
That is not founded on anything other than sparkles and unicorn intestines.
Yes.
I just want.
Yeah,
Pretty
you just
please.
want.
Just want. And leave some for the people, the ones you showed up to the dance with, us end users.
Yeah.
Got Raspberry Pi where it's at right. Not saying anything against of course, proper business management and all that, but we were the ones running out before businesses even knew what Raspberry Pi was.
Very, very true. And I'm just happy I picked up a Raspberry Pi 4 gig, an 8 gig, and I have a Raspberry Pi 400, and I did that before they were hard to find, pre-pandemic. And
the one thing that you can still buy regularly is the one with a keyboard.
Yeah. And actually that one came out during the pandemic. So it's interesting that one's available, but
it's only got 4 gigs.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
You start searching for 2 gig and 4 gig Pi 4. You can find those. Don't worry.
Yeah. The 1 gig ones are readily available.
Yeah. And it's still, even at $200, I definitely did some digging around. Because I'm always curious about being able to replace. I have 3 x86 boxes under the desk. On this side, the monitor here, and I don't have a third box for the Discord, or if we bring a person in as a guest, and I'd love to be able to replace them with, a small board PC. Nooks are just incredibly too expensive and even suck too much power, but a Pi 4 type device. And even looking at the Rock chips and Banana Pis and stuff like that, they're not even any cheaper right now. They're by the time you get up to something with 8 gigs and all that, you're still looking at $250 a piece. And that's where the Pi 4 8 gig really shone. $75.
Yeah.
Even if it was $99, all right. That is
almost 200.
At 200. Yeah. Here's the thing. At 200, I can get a radically more powerful SBC from, Banana Pi or some other place like that with built-in NVMe and all the other bells and whistles. So yeah, it's not competitive at that point outside of it has that ecosystem built in. But I'm patient. Whatever. Yeah. I just got done waiting through 2.5 years for a video card.
Yeah, that we got disappointed on
I'm good.
Today.
All right, everyone, running a little bit long, but we need to get out of here.
Yes.
You can contact us on our web zone, on Twitter, at Vin Stone, at Joe Bryant, Jill underscore Linux Girl 137463 dash parentheses.
At Jill underscore Linux Girl on Twitter and on Mastodon and even on Instagram and Facebook and all the things. I'm on everything.
There you go. TikTok.
Yep, I'm on TikTok too. Yes.
Now, have you done anything on TikTok? I didn't ask if you had anything.
I have a couple videos up on TikTok.
So if we're going to go there right there, live, now, we're going to find videos?
Yeah, you will for my other network that podcast on Destination
What
Linux.
are they about? Tell me. I want to find out.
One of them is about unique mice that are in my collection that I showed off during one of the episodes, like a phone
When
mouse.
you say mice, I'm thinking about mice.
Yeah, no.
It's like, this is my
mice.
six-legged mice.
Yeah.
Don't have six-legged mice, people. All right, we got to bounce. Credits.
Okay. Yay! Thank you to all our wonderful patrons.
This one doesn't like cheese.
Aw, yes, Joe. You can make a TikTok of all the pink tuxes I have. That could definitely happen. Thank you to our beautiful executive producers and our Chicago people and our wonderful sea monsters. We got so many cool people in there, and our death notes. We have so many patrons that I can't name them all.
You just gave up? I can name each and
Yes.
every one of you if I wanted to.
Yeah. We know
Maybe.
know a lot of them by heart.
Also, boom. Do you know it? I found the markers. Thank you again for the
there you
NVMe
go.
drive. I couldn't find it for
Nice.
like a week. I tore this house apart. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next
Okay.
week. Steve, mobile up. Oh yeah, I got that installed on the tablet right here. I've been using that for a couple of months. It works. At least it's gotten to the point where you could reliably log in using the QR code, which is nice.
Yeah, I haven't tested that yet. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so I need to do that because the old app is pretty lame.
It's really not good, is it?
No.
But they haven't updated it in years upon years.
Yeah. Aw, thank you, Joe. Yeah, that was a fun show. Anytime with Ven is fun.
I don't, I haven't bought a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
The thing about a Steam Deck, my interest in a Steam Deck has nothing to do with gaming. It is. I guess I should say that Strider does have points. It's a little buggy. It's a little slow. It took me a minute to figure out how to use the QR code login thing. It's not super straightforward.
Yeah, I definitely need to do that today.
I don't know, Strider. You don't know a lot of stuff. You were confused as to why I wanted a 16 gigabyte ARC, knowing how much video production stuff I play with. That seemed to anger and upset you first thing this morning. So, I hedge my bets, my friend. I hedge my bets.
Nice. At least it looks like the desktop version of Steam now. I hated that you had to go over to the left and go through the list just to do a search, and it was just not. It was old.
Well, I never used
laid out.
full disclosure, I never used the Steam app for anything other than Authenticator.
I would use it to send gifts to people, games.
See, I didn't because I could only have it installed on one device.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
installed on the one here, the tablet I have on the table in the studio over here. Which means that's the only place this tablet lives, which means I'm usually in front of a computer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's always good to do the authentication.
Also,
I do that
I got
too.
a fun little hack for everyone. Maybe you've already figured it out on your own. But, this is for those of you who use Twilio's Authy. They have a Linux desktop client. They used to have a plugin for Chrome, which was awesome. It worked brilliantly. They're finally going to extra kill it. You've been able to hold on to it if you've had it in your Chrome apps, but they're really going to drop the hammer on that. They have a package available on their web zone as a Snap. I'm not installing Snap just to install a program. Never going to happen.
Yeah.
There's the one program, and like, no, I'm not introducing a potential security vector onto my operating system to install an app. I'm not having that. And I would say the same thing if it was a Flatpak too. Like an app image, I'd get.
Yeah.
So none of that. I've not, me and Jordan have had this conversation. Like, no, it's never going to happen. I'm not installing Snap, and I'm not hating on Snap unnecessarily. I'm just saying that's dumb to limit to that. And it's like, I really want this desktop client that it just took 2 seconds and I thought about it. You know what I did, Jill?
What did you do?
I typed in wine space, whatever the installer name was, hit enter.
Oh, okay.
And it just installed the Windows version through Wine, and it works perfectly fine. So now I have, and I already have Wine installed, and I use Wine for other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I have a couple test rigs that I have Snap and Flatpak, so we can, I can talk about them here on the show and just that they work well. I don't usually, that's not my default. I like binaries or... Yeah.
Containerization on the desktop is a solution looking for a problem. Desperate.
Yeah.
IoT deployments like that, you've sold me 100%. As soon as we get to the desktop, I'm like, I'm not playing make-believe with you. I'm not. Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm the same, Ben. I only use app images on my broadcast rig. To keep things stable and happy. Snapd and Flatpak can be very, very stable, but there are times when things go awry, especially with Snap. Sometimes I've had a few boxes that have not too happy with Snap, and then I had to uninstall it and reinstall. It happens.
What are you guys agreeing with? Doesn't buy separate devices from main workstation, whatever. 100%. Here's the thing:
it's the 2 and 2FA.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I gotta have it on. Again, I gotta have it on the tablet right here. If I have physical access to your device, you're hosed.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I have pliers. I'm not doing sophisticated hacking. I'm pulling out your fingernails. I'll get the password. Again, containerization on the desktop, it doesn't matter in any form. Like the cost benefit ratio is still out of whack on it. Like I'm not seeing, like as the end user, I'm not seeing the benefit.
Oh, bye French. Bye French guy. Bye Yannick. Yeah, the Ubuntu Core, the implementation of Snap and Ubuntu Core is really good. So they did a good job with that. But that was for server side, so makes sense. And most of my machines I've had Snap on. It hasn't been a problem. I did have one Ubuntu machine when I updated to 22.04 that the Snap just exploded. So I had to uninstall it and then reinstall it.
Yeah, Linux is inversely proportional to you knowing what the hell you're doing. Mm-hmm. As with with many things, it's see, that is like the one TechTuber video I want to make eventually at some point, just to rile everyone about, especially about like Linux audio, just to have some fun with people. Linux doesn't care if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Linux doesn't do anything by itself. If audio broke on your system, it's because you did it.
Yeah.
You didn't just reboot and something broke. You're applying your Windows is showing.
Yeah. So what was interesting is that machine, it was an Ubuntu budgie problem. They were having issues with Snap, and it broke the system. And I hadn't had that happen in ages. And then I just installed XFCE, and the Snap worked fine. So
Right.
There you go. But since then, the Ubuntu Budgie team fixed that, so that was good.
Now, if you just want to have some fun, just install Debian. Get all the spin stuff out of your life. Go back to the source. I'll tell you, the thing that sold me on Debian was watching somebody trying to get a package accepted into Debian, complaining just paragraph upon paragraph about all these unnecessary standards and checks that he was being forced, that he thought was completely unnecessary, that really, I'm like, man, they're that stringent? All right.
Yeah.
That's a very good thing.
Yeah, DeCresney, good to see you. And yeah, I have Debian on like over 400 machines in my house. Mostly older versions, but I have Debian 11 on a couple of my newer machines as well. Because I still live that window maker and ex-window manager life. So,
what's that got to do with Debian?
Well, I like running them on Debian.
Why?
Just like, because it works beautifully on my old Macs and all my computers.
Like your old x86 Macs?
Yeah, my old x86, my old PowerPC Macs, my Deck Alpha, my Sun machines. It's just universally a great distro that supports a lot of the old architectures.
Yeah, Debian's if you're in the business of using Linux as an operating system as a productivity tool to get stuff done, I highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. And as I've said multiple times, because I've been asked multiple times, when will I ever quit distro hopping?
Yep.
And I will tell you, it's one of Ven's laws. You will quit distro hopping when Linux becomes your operating system and not your hobby.
Yeah, when you realized it was fun to distro hop and, learn all about all the other distros and the spins, but at a certain point you can use, me, the way I am is I can use any distro as long as it has the tools I need and the user interfaces I use, I'm happy. It doesn't matter which version of Linux I'm using.
Yeah, Fedora's an interesting beast. I don't, my problem is like, Debian just works. Debian's got its quirks. Debian's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what you get comfortable with for a long time. For a long time, that was Red Hat with me.
Yeah, see, for me, it was Debian. Debian was what I used for years and years and years.
I jumped on Red Hat early on. I went from Slackware to Red Hat, and I stayed on Red Hat until 6.0, 6.2, whatever it was when it switched over to Fedora, and I stayed on Fedora for a long time.
Yeah, I remember you were on Fedora even for the show for a while.
But that's went back to just made that loop, came back around to Debian. Like in the early days, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a fan. That's another problem. I don't have whatever gene is required for me to go, yay, this one thing's great. My first thought is if I'm using it, I want to point out every single flaw it has in order to bring attention to them,
I'm a fangirl of all the distros. Even Gen 2. And Linux from scratch, which I've built before.
When it comes to Linux, it's a tool. Something that's just something I butted heads with people my entire life. Not my entire life, but the entire time I've been using Linux 30 plus years, is the, I've always viewed Linux as an operating system. It's got its community around it, and it's fascinating and amazing that the kernel gets developed the way it does. But what I've never kind of understand it, I just don't like it, is when people want to attach their philosophies, like my open source philosophy and all this, to the operating system. I'm like, don't.
Yeah, you just tell them to use Dev1.
Just, I don't need you to expand on, like, here's my personal beliefs on open source and software freedom and privacy. Like, no. That's like going to a third world country and giving the starving people some food with a side of Jesus. Like, just give them the food. OpenSUSE, I've never messed around. I mean, I've installed SUSE, but enough to go like, this doesn't do anything extra for me. And I've ran into SLES in work environments enough to realize that, man, somebody messed up. Oh, yeah. Like, it's like everything else, Linux isn't a religion. Keep your belief system to yourself. Talk about Linux and all the cool stuff it does.
Yeah, Steve has been Gilix. I still have my Gilix distro installed on my Asus EPC 700. Actually, it needs to be updated, but it is on there.
Also, I'm glad you bring stuff like that up, Mira. Learn to install NVIDIA drivers. If you're using NVIDIA hardware, learn how to install it. It's a run file. It's not crazy. Like, I would be terrified to use... this can't just go for me. I don't care what operating system it is, if it's Windows, if it's Mac, if it's Temple OS. I want to know how to install the video driver. That's going to be like number one on my list, and not through like Uncle Slappy's click here next to button, Otron install. I'm like, no. How do I do that if that breaks? You learn how to install that run file, which is very straightforward. And it's universal. It doesn't matter. I'm going to install that run file the same way on Arch as I am on Fedora, as I am on Debian, as Ubuntu, pop all the derivatives, SUSE. That run file is going in the same way.
Yeah. But Mir has a point on laptops with Optimus. It does have issues. I've dealt with that too, with the run file. So doing it with the way the distro actually asks you to do it is generally better.
Debatable.
Like with Arch. Arch has actually a really nice tool.
The moral of the story is learn whatever thing is doing, how to do it in case thing breaks, because thing will break eventually. And how many times it's like, oh, I've done this. Oh, well, what do I do? Time to format the system. How many times have I read that? Too many times. And if you don't want to know how your operating system works at all, get a Mac. And don't try to convince anyone that you can use Linux without using a terminal. You can, right up until something breaks. Then you're going to have to use terminal.
Oh, it's good to see you in here, DeCresney. Nemo, how are you doing?
The terminal's so hip. The terminal's so cool. Microsoft has even included it in Windows. You know what, Arthur, to be crystal clear, I'm not saying do it that way. What I'm saying is know how to do it. Know how to do it. Some people get I mean, you could do that.
Yeah, Alan, I've done that before. It's been a long time, but I did that years ago.
But that NVIDIA, their run installer has been distro agnostic, running out of the box for 20 years, man. Like, they got that down. I was talking about that earlier today. You know what NVIDIA released? Desktop drivers. Video drivers for the 40 series cards, day one. And on top of that, they added pretty neat over-the-air update for Proton for the DXVK type stuff. I mean, you have to enable it manually, but moral of the story, Intel, make more 770s. You know what? Intel, I know you're not making any 770s right now. Release some of the ones that you've already made into the distribution channel.
Yeah, most everyone in our audience knows how to do that. So run the run file. They do it all the time. They do it for work and for home.
Most people in the audience look at you with a blank stare when you say, run what?
On the Linux Gamecast community.
Drop the TTY. Like, what's the TTY?
Yeah, Ben's talking about outside the Linux Gamecast community.
No, I'm talking about people I've seen talk about install the run drivers in chat.
Well, that's true. That's true.
There's nothing wrong with it. Not shaming anybody.
No, in fact, that's 99.9% of the time I use the .run file myself because I just prefer exiting the OS, going to TTY, and doing it that way.
If you got a reliable system, and that's
Yeah.
like personally up to me, I would probably just have it installed like on a desktop computer, on a Debian box, or on a pop box, or anything like that. I would let the package manager handle it because it's going to take care of that for you. It's going to get all your dependencies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I'm
Pop
saying
one
is
is
not to be
pretty nice.
confused with any type of gatekeeping or anything. It's like, I want people to be able to help themselves.
Yeah, and be able
I
to
want
learn
you-
how to install it manually and
Exactly.
yeah, compile and all that. Absolutely. Like Matthew Strider, if you need to use the NVIDIA.run file, you should seriously reconsider your life choices.
But then again, I want to teach people how to use Linux. I want people to be able to help themselves, not to,
Yeah.
not to do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. I'm like, nope. I'll show you how to do it. Teach a man to paint a zebra,
Absolutely.
and he'll have fish for weeks. Learn to use the search engine too, though, man. How important is that? How many times have you rolled your eyes when you'll see the questions like on our Linux questions and all that? Like, you're intelligent. Clearly, you have a pulse. You were able to create a Reddit account and type out all these problems. Did it never occur to you to type that into Google or Bing or whatever you use, Duck, Duck, Squawk, or whatever it is? Like, Linux might not be your operating, but you got to do the same thing in Windows. Like, if you have a problem, you got to search for stuff. This is not, a Linux thing. You got to have that curiosity. There you go, Daisy Bob. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, you spent more time typing this. Let me just copy and paste this into Google. Like, there's your answer. Third one down. Fauxbar. I'd alias Fauxbar. Make it work. Or Mac OS, yeah. Every operating system, like troubleshooting, is part of computing. That is how it is. I mean, if you want to be a 100% end user life, that's great. Live that life. But it's tough on a general purpose operating system. Like, problems arise. Well, you see, Scott, that's why you should buy what are the pro tablets Apple has? What do they call them?
iPad Pros.
Did they just call them iPad Pros?
Yeah.
You're slipping, Apple. I thought you would have some Moonbeam name for your iPad Pro.
Yeah, I was thinking of picking one up just for my collection. I have a iPad Mini and a classic old iPad.
Yeah, like I really hope that we'll be seeing nothing but good things coming out of the open source Vulkan stack that we talked about last week for the NVIDIA drivers. What was it?
VDRK, VT, something K. I have to look.
NVK. So.
That was exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I really want something similar to like AMD, like 98% of your daily usage is just plug it in and go. And you got like that last little bit of legwork you need to do for the binary stuff if you want compute, all the other things. But that's what I'm really curious about on Intel's side, about their OpenCL implementation. We'll find out eventually. All right, it's 4:30. I gotta get to work. Hey everyone, thanks for showing up, hanging out with us in the after show. I will be back tomorrow with Jordan. We finished the main campaign last week, so we got a little bit of DLC to go through. We might be able to finish that up tomorrow night, 7:30. Friday, Trackmania, again at 7:30. We'll be doing the points match. Saturday, Linux Gamecast Weekly, 8:30. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. There's a schedule button on our Twitch page. Use it or lose it. You know what? It won't ever get lost. I'm sure it'll disappear. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Go out there and have fun Linuxing. Yeah, you have a good day too, Daisy Bobs.